Welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Inge. I'm a keen knitter and knitwear designer located in Denmark. And in my knitting laboratory, I experiment a lot with different fiber types, brands, and also different kinds of designs, constructions to go into my garment designs. So one of two topics today is mohair, and mohair in combination with silk. In the basket here behind me, you see a buffet of different brands and shades, and I will make a review of mohair covering different parameters which may be of importance when you want to choose a mohair for your project. But how come I'm so interested in mohair lately? Well, it's because I have used it in my latest design, the Lacy Cable Tee. And I'm so happy and thrilled to tell you that it has now been published on Ravelry. And I am still very intrigued with the European shoulder construction, and this is also using this type of construction. So topic number 2 is more considerations of the European shoulder design. In a later episode, I covered the looks of the design depending on where you place the sleeve. In this episode, I will cover the upper body and how this can change in the looks depending on how you do the increases and different stuff. So I will continue my considerations and share with you the challenges on the grading and how to make the increases, and also some of the tools and principles I use when getting the overview of the design and the grading before I dig into the details in Excel and all the numbers. And while explaining about the design, we will go look at the two mannequins back here. They are wearing the mohair edition, one of them, and the other one, the plant fiber edition. And they have different of the pattern options applied, so we can also have a look at the different options. Back to the mohair, because I'm puzzled. When you touch a yarn ball of mohair, it feels ever so soft. And when you touch a surface of a garment using mohair, oh, it's so soft, the fluffiness and the halo look to it, you just feel like jumping into such a sweater. But when I did that in the past, I kind of felt it prickly. And actually it was so prickly that it was uncomfortable and I had to take it off. And I have actually not used mohair since. How come can a yarn feel so soft and yet be so prickly? This triggered my curiosity gene and also my science gene. So I have been searching high and low to find answers to that question. And I think I may have found some answers. And when you find answers to questions, you may also have solutions to problems. And here you see, I'm sitting in a mohair sweater without feeling uncomfortable. So without further ado, let's jump into the mohair review. I will now try to make a homemade, absolutely non-scientific test to see if I can somehow find a correlation between shedding and prickliness, because this is my hypothesis, that it's the shedding, the loose fibers, that cause the prickliness. So I will grab each ball, pick at the same place and pull. I try with the same pulling power to do 5 pulls and then 10 rolls and see how much fiber I get out of the yarn ball. And I have tried to arrange these Scandinavian brands in the order of the way I feel prickliness when knitted up. So the most prickly to the least prickly. And here we have Drops Kid Silk, Viking Kid Silk, Mayflower Kid Silk, and Især Silk-Mohair. So I'm very interested to see if somehow I can see something out of it. Let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I don't know what I expected, but it seems to be a lot of fiber that I can pull out here. So I will do 10 rounds here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, well, it seems actually very hard to gather this or get it to, yeah, grip. I don't know the English word. Yeah, to gather. Let's see what the Viking does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it seems a bit harder to get off the fiber. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, wow! What happened here? Well, that's quite a different, isn't it? It seems as if it grabs itself and it's easier to kind of, yeah, make to a ball. Let's see this one, Mayflower Kid Silk. 1, 2, 3. I can hardly wait. 4, 5. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It seems a bit more fluffy or more hair. Let's try the easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can tell you it's not just the color, it's very hard to pull off this fiber from the core, silk core. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow! 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 Yeah, well, I can't hide my excitement here. I'm really amazed and astonished that yeah, I don't know the word. I don't know what I expected. Of course, I hoped to see some kind of result of my hypothesis, but it really seems as if for one, it is easier to pull off fiber from these ones compared to the easier. So it kind of sticks to the silk core. So hence, there has to be less loose fibers here. And the other thing is that it seems as if these, if we could say that these are kind of the same, it seems as if gradually it seems to gather more, and maybe that would explain that you feel the loose fibers less because they kind of yeah, gather more here compared to this one, where maybe that's why you would have fiber shedding all over the place, so to speak, and keep shedding. And yeah, well, now I'm talking and talking. I think before doing a lot of interpretation of this one, even though it's a non-scientific test, I will try to reproduce this at least 4 more times and see if I can reproduce the result. And if I can, I will bring the video in my mohair review. As you can see, I have tested this more times now. And actually, I couldn't help myself because it was 6, 7 times I've tested this now. And I think it's fair to say that we see a reproducibility and a tendency among these brands. And yeah, well, I'm still amazed, surprised, happy, yeah, everything, because I don't know what I expected, but I surely hope to find a relationship between shedding and prickliness, and I think we may have some answers here. What I could do as factual things was to measure the diameter here of the fuss ball. It's a bit hard, but now when I have so many samples, I can get the range. It's not possible for me to weigh this because it's featherweight. I don't have the tools to do it. But let's look up here. We'll just move it a bit. So Isa is 1.5 to 2 centimeters in diameter, and that's below 1 inch. Mayflower from 3 to 4 centimeters, and that's a bit above 1 inch. And Viking is 3.5 to 4 centimeters. So it seems almost the same. However, this seems a bit bigger in diameter when measuring a lot of samples. And then we have drops here on the other end being 5 to 6 centimeters in diameter, with this fuss ball being the biggest here. So that is above 2 inches. So yeah, well, I really think that somehow we have some answers. Maybe I'm repeating myself because I'm so excited. Yeah, now I will go into thinking mode and think about how to interpret these results and how to explain it in my mohair review, because now I dare show this video. Isn't that amazing that by such a simple homemade test you can perhaps get some answers to your questions? And it would please me so much if you would try to replicate this test at home and let me know in the comments below what you find. Do you find the same relationship between the mohair brands you love and the prickliness to your skin, if you feel any, that is? Or what do you find? That would be fun. But back to my review here. Yeah, well, when I planned this episode, I thought, well, I would like to make a comprehensive review and walk through all the brands over here and knit them up and see how they behave. However, in one of the previous episodes, one of your viewers referenced me to other podcasters who have made a mohair review. And I looked at one from KnitPurlGirl called Mohairology. I don't know if I pronounce it right, but wow, I can really recommend you to see this episode. It is really good. I'm tempted to say, walks over a zillion of different brands and compositions of mohair. And she has knitted swatches and compare the stitch definition and many other parameters. So thank you so much, KnitPurlGirl, and I've taken the liberty to summarize all your results into only one table here, so that I can do the correlations, if I can, to the prickliness and the shedding. So that's what I will do in just a minute. And of course, I also searched the internet high and low to see if I could find any scientific cause for the prickliness and the shedding, microscopic pictures or so, but I didn't really seem to find my answers, and this is why I tried to develop my own test to see if I could find a relationship. But let us now see what I could find on the internet, and the thorough review from KnitPurlGirl added my own brands here and my results. First of all, if you are kind of new to mohair like me, let's just state the fact that this fiber comes from the Angora goat. And look at this picture. It's so cute, and look at the hair and the very curly fibers. Already by looking here, you think, wow, this is a very squishy and soft yarn. In this poster here, we have picked some of the fibers, the hairs, and placed them in an electron microscope to look at the surface characteristics to see if we can find answers to prickliness. There is one common photo with more protein fibers, the silk fiber, and also plant fibers, and even a synthetic fiber. But it didn't have the mohair, so I had to find another source for that one. but I have sized it so that you can compare it to the other fibers. And it has approximately the same size as the rough wool. But when looking at it, it doesn't look like a rough wool. It doesn't have scales. It looks rather smooth on the surface, a bit like a silk, I would say. Not silky, but a bit like it. So you would expect that it is rather smooth, and hence it would feel very soft. So if we thought that the surface would give us the explanation of the prickliness, I guess we are a bit disappointed, right? So what is it then? And when looking at this picture, what comes to my mind is that I think we have to distinguish between itchiness and prickliness, because the wools with scales may seem very itchy to you, but if we have no scales and it's prickly, it's another feeling, and maybe it's due to the fact that it's not caused by the scales, of course, but due to longer fibers or more fiber ends poking your skin. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, because I'm trying to use my common sense, because I haven't been able to find any scientific proof of prickliness. So I have to elaborate my own theory, so to speak. Yeah, so that was the surface characteristics. So let's move on to all the other parameters of a yarn given by KnitPurlGirl. In this table here, you see the summarized results from KnitPurlGirl, and she has kind of divided them into different headlines, which I have marked in green here, her different categories. And I have added two of my brands, Scandinavian brands, the Viking yarn and the Mayflower yarn here, and tried to put them into her categories. And I cannot add all the good explanations she has for every yarn, so we will just summarize here. You will have to go to look at her review. But she has the categories budget friendly, everyday versatile yarn. She has shiny yarns. The silk is very shiny in the yarn. There are ethical yarns and fluffy yarns, and one in the category luxury. And this is Lang yarn lace. And actually her review here goes very well with the feedback I've had from viewers, that the absolute most soft they have ever used, however very, very expensive, is the Lang yarn. So it could have been fun to do the test on the Lang yarn to see if it's in the same or even better category than the Isair yarn. I would expect so, actually, but let me see if I can get hold of one of these yarn balls and show you later. The next poster here is exactly the same table. The only difference is the way I have sorted the data, now focusing on the mohair content. So here you see from highest to lowest the content of mohair in the brand. And I did this in order to see if I could find a correlation between the content of mohair and prickliness, in the sense that the less mohair, the less prickliness, the more mohair, the more prickliness. Let's have a look at the data. And in the absolute bottom here, with only 58% mohair, is the Lang yarn lace. So this would very well support the theory that the less mohair, the less prickliness. However, when we then look at the Isair brand, then Isair has the same composition as many of the other mohair brands, with 75% mohair. So here we cannot support this theory. So I don't think we can say that there is significant relationship between the content of mohair and the prickliness. It won't do. And when I look at my results and the microscopic pictures and so on, I don't think that there is one easy explanation or scientific. I haven't been able to find it. So we will have to elaborate on common sense or whatever we think and feel about the subject. So my best guess is that prickliness is due to more factors. One is the manufacturing method and the way they spin the silk and the mohair together. Of course, there's the quality of the mohair and the length of the fibers, I would say. So if they are not so tightly spun and you see shedding, it will be more prickly because more loose ends will poke your skin. And it also seems as if in my test that some of these fibers get more entangled, even though it doesn't make scientific sense, because if you don't have scales or hooks on the fiber, how come they can entangle so much? Yeah, well, because when you take a pile of yarn of a very smooth surface silk or plant fiber yarn, I have the experience sometimes when you try to unwind the ball, or as you go in your project, it blows up in your face and you have a yarn ball not controllable. So I mean, it doesn't always make sense to me. So please, fiber experts out there within mohair, and please correct me or advise me or tell me what this is, because this is where it could lead me with the pictures and this review. Now let's have a look at the other parameters which come in handy when you want to look at your wallet and see how much value you can get for money. So in the next poster here, you see again the same table, however now sorted into meterage, with the highest meterage to the lowest. And again, it makes sense that the lang yarn lace weight has more meterage per 25 grams of skein than the ones being more fingering weight and more fluffy with less meterage. So yeah, so if you want to buy a mohair yarn, which other parameters than prickliness and softness and fluffiness and shininess, or shine is, I guess it's just shine, and ethical aspects and so on? Yeah, it could be the shades, right? Because you want to have exactly the shade you want to make a mild effect or have exactly the same color. And when we look at the next poster here, divided into shades, then you will see that Mayflower is the brand with by far the most different ones, because they have 97 different shades and 10 being kind of a print where it's a color changing yarn. And also Guipar yarn, Kitsita, they have 68 different shades and 23 with a tweed effect. So if you go by a brand with many shades to pick the right one for your project, then these would be the brands. And actually, as you can see over here, I have added the pricing. Let's look at the next poster. So I have the pricing from KnitPurlGirl, and also I have added the prices in US dollars and Danish kroner. So you can see that the ones with many shades are actually kind of budget friendly, not as the price as drops, but even so not in the higher end. So I think there is really a mohair brand and yarn for every taste out there and in different parts of the world. So you just have to find your own sensitivity and liking and the right color and pricing for your project. What about shedding then? Yeah, well, just like prickliness, I don't have any scientific relationship to shedding besides the very homemade test you saw. So I can only tell you the experience I have now from the different brands used in this design. During wash and blocking, there was very little fiber left in the water. And now that I've worn these garments, I haven't seen any shedding on my clothes or my surroundings. So I'm very content. This one is made by Mayflower Super Kid Silk, and it, as I said in the intro, very soft and squishy, and you see the halo effect here and the fluffiness. So in order to test for you before this video, I actually tried using the lint remover here to see if I could remove some loose fibers and it would feel less prickly. It's hard to tell when it is not prickly, but and see if this would spoil the halo effect. And look here, now I can show you here the lint remover and how much I have removed from the front side of the tee and the sleeves. And look, and you can also see it here, it preserves still the halo look. So don't worry if you feel like your particular brand is shedding a bit even after blocking, then you can use the lint remover. Others, they recommend to brush because it is fluffy and you can brush off the fuzz balls, or you could put it in the freezer. I don't know how you could explain this by science, but yeah, I guess let's try everything we can to get rid of shedding if this is the case for your mohair yarn. Yeah, well, I guess with these words of maintenance and so on, shedding, we have covered a mohair review at length now. So let's move on to design challenges. I have moved the mannequins a bit closer here for you to see the two models of the Lacy Cable Tee. So in this one we have the smaller sizes, and here is the larger sizes. I was so fortunate to get these mannequins recycled because the one I had was very crooked and could only have one size. She couldn't move in sizes anymore. She was too old. So now I have these ones, and it's a good thing because you cannot have the models at hand to do the fitting all day long here, right? So I'm happy about it. And she is wearing the plant fiber edition and she's wearing the mohair edition. When I look at the camera it looks skewed, but when I'm standing here looking at it, it's quite straight, so I don't know what happens. But maybe it looks a bit stretched on her because this model is, this tee is a size large on a larger scale mannequin, because I couldn't have them both on this one. Yeah, practical. But let's look at the models. So let's start with the mohair edition, and it gets you sleeves, 3 different sleeves: the long sleeve with the straight sleeve and the short sleeve, both with a small puff or without the puff. So I will show you the one without the puff in a second. But this one has the slight puff. I don't think it's a very excessive puff here, but a little puff, as I like it. And then I only do the decreases here, the I-cord edge. And again, it is my favorite design, the European shoulder construction, because I actually find that this fits every size and body type. It is one of the better constructions for a fit for all sizes. So I like this one. And as you may have heard in one of the other episodes, I wanted to do not a drop sleeve but a set-in bell-shaped sleeve. So my challenge with grading here has been how to calculate the increments here at the underarm to preserve a nice back. So I would like this straight line down here and then do the increases at the underarm at a certain rate. So how do I do the grading then? Yes, well, I will show you on a sketch later. I do the fitting options here. Here you can do the tailoring here of your waistline, where we do in decreases, a straight piece, and then increases again to give us this illusions of a waistline, even though we may not have one. What more to add? Yeah, the I-cords. In the tutorials I talk about I-cords and having different purposes, and I do them in different ways. Yeah, well, it's because when you look at an I-cord here at the bottom edge, it has to be flexible so that you can sit down and not feel that it squeezes your hips, and there has to be room for the hips. So it has to be able to overstretch, just like the tee you see here. And when you look at the I-cord here, it has to be more tight, so to speak, so that it holds together the model and makes a nice V-line here. And here at the arms, we do a little reduction here. It's a bit loose on the sleeve because depending on your liking, it would end on the middle on your biceps or lower or higher, so there has to be room for your arm. Yeah, let's have a look at one of the mohair models with a straight sleeve, not a puff sleeve. Yeah, she has now gained a bit of weight to better fit a size medium. So here you see the mohair edition with the straight sleeve without the puff. And yeah, well, it is the same principle with this one, and as well there is waist shaping on this one. It seemed to be all the models I had, everyone wanted this waist shaping. I guess they had also the experience from the tree trunk sweater and liked the fitting with the waist shaping. Yeah, well, what more to say? Yeah, maybe you can see a difference with the stripe here in the middle. I will talk about it later, because depending on if you need 4 v-neck stripes or 5 v-neck stripes, it will be a different center v-neck here. This mannequin has now a size better fitted to her size. I would say this is a size XL, or did I make it 2XL? I don't recall. It's for myself. So I think I made it. No, it doesn't matter. But I have just finalized the butt start, so I have now leveled front and back. So I need now to do the synchronization. It doesn't make sense to you now, but if you knit up this one, you would understand why, and I've made tutorials to help you. So yeah, thank you ladies for helping me with the display here. Let me go back to the desk. As you see, I'm back at the desk now, and I hope you got a small impression of the design and you like it. So it has been kind of, I would say, my designer exam piece. I think it has been a bit more challenging than the first one, the tree trunk sweater, and this is because of an 8-stitch pattern repeat, which gives you challenges when you do the increases. You can not just increase 1 by 1 stitch like if you had a simple, I would say, stockinette stitch design. So let me show you some of the challenges and how I do the sketching during my designer process. I will now let you into my knitting designer lab here with my secrets on how I approach the grading of a design. And there are some foundational things which has to be in place for me before I can start. So for one, I need to do a design. I do one for myself that is a bigger size, and I typically do one in the smaller sizes as well for one of my friends, so that I have an idea of my design and the prototype, that I like it before I start with all the numbers. That's one thing. And when talking about numbers, the foundation here is this book. I can highly recommend it, because for children, men and women, you have numerous measurements on the body, so that if I have this as a foundational database in my Excel sheet, I can draw from all these measurements when doing different calculations for the tee. And then the third thing is very, very important. I have to be sure on gauge. If I don't know the gauge after blocking and wear, then I cannot grade the project here or the sweater. It will be simply be a disaster. So this has to be fixed. I need to have done more tests so that I know this is the gauge for the given yarn. And this is maybe why you hear me stress so much about gauge, because it is so important for the designer. You can be more flexible when it is done, of course. And then I start drawing a sketch before I do numbers in Excel and start this grading. And the way I do it is that from this book, I know the yoke height of different sizes. And when I know the gauge, I know the number of rows at hand for the yoke that I have to play with. And don't take this as a given fact that it looks like this. It's just a drawing here. But the important thing here is that when you do the yoke height, it's not a proportional thing that size X small is you have a straight line here for the 5XL. That's not how it goes, because the middle sizes may have the same yoke height. But they have wider shoulders. So they have different measurements and at different places on the body. And that's what is in my computer with the data here from the book. So now I start, and the foundation here is the European shoulder design. So let me show you how I do the sketch while looking at a sweater. So when I look at the front piece in this lovely lime green here, you can easily see it. So I start the row count here at the shoulder. So up here, you can see in the knitting direction, it would be this one. So I say, okay, yeah, well, for this size, the shoulder width is like this. So then I can say for size X small, this is S for shoulder, S for shoulder, and maybe for size medium, the shoulder is a bit wider, and so on it goes. So this line may travel a bit longer for the larger sizes. So now I have the shoulder width here, which will become the sleeve cap up here. Then I need to look at the depth of the V, because again, it's not a straight line. It's not like the V should be high up here and then go deeper on the bigger sizes, because you have counted in the shoulder height here. So the V may be the same depth for some of the sizes and then travel a bit down for the bigger sizes. So now I know, okay, here will be, we're just playing, this would be the V, center of the V here. And then I know if I need to get the circumference right, I need to start raglan increases at some point. And in order to reach the circumference I need, I can count backwards because this is at the underarm cast on. So now I know if I need these many increases, then okay, this piece will be my raglan piece. And then I can see if this raglan will overlap the place of the V where I also make the V, then I have to take into account that I have a place here with both the raglan and the V in my pattern. And this is how it goes for every size here. So now I know how in overall how it looks. So now I put all the numbers in Excel, how many stitches to cast on for the neck and how to do all these things in the pattern. And as I alluded to earlier, this design is tricky because it's increments of 8 stitches when I want to do increases. So this is also the charm about this design, because the upper body and lower body is parted in the way that more sizes have the same back width. However, you do the trick here with the sizing in this part. So in this particular design with alternating stripes, I need an uneven number of stripes here where I do the cast-ons. So if I need to braid here, I need to do 8 stitches more, and 8 stitches at the neck piece is actually very much. So how can I compensate here if, for example, for a smaller size, you need to do more increases here to get it fit down here, however it's too big here? Yeah, well, that's where the I-cord comes in handy, because you can do small tricks up here to get the neckline more narrow. Yeah, well, back to the challenges here with the symmetry, because I also need, or I do need, an even number of stripes when going out here, because I have the edge stripe here being a tree trunk stripe, and I need, for symmetry, to have these kind of stripes. I cannot have, like over here, 2 tree trunk stripes, adjacent stripes. That won't do for my eye. So I need, again here, I cannot just, if I had a stockinette stitch pattern, I could do, let's say, 5 or 6 increases here and say this would fit my size. Here again, I need to do 8 in order for the symmetry to be nice. And how does this work? Yeah, again, now the charm is doing a cabled, very stretchy pattern, because you can do the same number of stitches for more sizes, and as this fabric breathes, so to speak, it's very flexible. Yeah, it is possible. At the raglans, it's an even number of stripes like up here. However, when you get to the cast-ons at the underarm, because you have this raglan edge stripe on each side, you need an uneven number of stripes down here. So this is how it goes, and that's the tricky part with the grading when we need to consider symmetry. So let's look at the V-neck, because when grading, the V-neck is also a challenge. In order for the fabric to meet at the front, you need more V-neck increases here on the larger sizes than on the smaller sizes. Let's look at this one, because when we do the edge stripe here, we do the increases inside the 4 stitches here to get these stripes, and then we can let this edge stripe go down here and just cast on 3 stitches in the middle, and this will look like this. So you see here 1, 2, 3, 4 stripes, and the edge stripe just goes down here, and you cast on for the center stripe. However, when you have the larger sizes requiring 5 V-neck stripes, then you start again doing the increases inside the 4 edge stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. However, if you made the 5th one being a tree trunk stripe, then you would have 2 adjacent stripes, because this one would go down here. Maybe it's a bit tricky, but I need to let this edge stripe go down here, and then instead do the increases inside the first edge stitch here to do the last one, and then have a center tree trunk stripe instead. Let me show you how this looks. So can you see it? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th is over here, and then we have the edge stripe here. And this is an early prototype model. So also a tricky thing is to do the increases here and make them resemble this stripe. So here we kind of missed the hole here. So I have also figured how to make this look nice, and also do a steeper increase here in the larger sizes if I'm restrained with the yoke height. So you know, there are so many parameters to take into account when doing the grading, and some things you can see up front and do in the Excel sheet and so on, and other things you simply see only when doing the test knitting. And this is why it is a golden process. I love the test knitting process, because we get all this sparing interaction, ideas and solutions, and improvements to the pattern. So again, thank you very much, testers, for all your ideas. So now that I had cracked the nut on how to make the symmetry work, I need to go to the helicopter view again and look at the grading once again to get the correct number of stitches and the correct yoke height. At some stage when I'm more certain, I transfer to XL here, and what you see here is an interim drawing of, so this is not the final pattern, but you see here X small and so on, and it's seen from the pickup stitches at the shoulder, and then you can see how I have calculated how the yoke height differs from the smaller to the larger sizes. And unfortunately this is a black and white print. It is in color to me in the screen, but this color means it is a shoulder piece here where nothing happens, and then here we start connecting the back and the shoulder front shoulder pieces here and start defining the sleeve cap. And then another color for when I start the neck increases being alone, and here I continue neck increases with the raglan increases, and you can see this color is the 4 V-neck increases and the 5 V-neck increases here. Again, this is not the final one, so you cannot it's not the correct numbers and so on. And again, which would be the depth of the V-neck, also traveling down a bit with the sizes because you have a wider shoulder. However, it is not, again, not a proportional thing. You cannot say X small is here and then make a straight line and say that size 5 XL should have this deep of a V-neck. That's not how it works. So again, I make this counting in cable heights. So all of these are measured in cable heights, so I can kind of figure out how to do it. So now I made this one, and then you can say again there's a constraint because at the larger sizes, also the smaller for that matter, you need a certain number of stitches to reach your chest circumference. However, in the bigger sizes, if you need to go every other row to get your size here at the chest, you need to start already up here. And if you start up here before the V-neck with raglans, then it won't fit you, right? So the next thing is you need to figure out the increment rate or frequent if you want to increase on every row or every other row. So the next drawing is here. If we look at it again in the knitting direction, let's have a look at this one. I've just taken again, it's an interim drawing, but to give you the picture. So let's take this one, a size 2XL. I do, here's the shoulder pickup stitches. I start defining the sleeve cap, and then I start doing, this is the V-neck increases, and this is the raglan increases. So again, as this European shoulder construction of mine is a set-in bell sleeve, I want this nice curve of the underarm. If I don't start increasing faster here and make this slope and just do it in a straight line, then in the bigger sizes where those here, then the increases would walk onto the arm, and that's not what we want. We want it to go smoothly under the underarm. Again, you can make a drawing and make it fit on a drawing and say here you want to do the increases, here you want to do the increases, but then again you have to make it fit for the number of rows for the pattern to be easy to read. And if you want to consider not just pattern for one size, but you want an easy pattern for all sizes, then you have the next challenge. And so again, I make a drawing. It's an interim one. It's just to give you the picture. Again, here the lacy cable repeats the different sizes and the sections of the pattern. So all sizes can follow the same section here. But then when we start doing different things, we have different sections. And the more we divide into very detailing to tailor each size, the more complicated the pattern will be to read and the longer it will be. So in the first run, so to speak, it was definitely not just to me. It has been my kind of designer exam piece, I would say. But then I did the sections. I did them and I printed them out and called them A, B, C, and D. And then I had all sections here. And then I took for size this, I need this and this combination. For that size this, I need this combination, and so on. So it's kind of a combination exercise, how to do the pattern and then draw it into this one. And the next round of optimization is how can I change things in the pattern so that, or how can I change things for the specific size so that the pattern will be aligned. And this is what you can see here. If you, yeah, it's a bit messy for one that hasn't drawn it herself, I mean. But you can see here I have started aligning so that every size starts making 2 or 3 increases of the V-neck before you start anything else. And then the pattern will get easier to look at. And this is where I ended in this one with the final one. So actually I thought I have to divide the pattern into the different sizes, or at least into the smaller and the bigger. But I actually think that now it is a fairly long pattern compared to other designers perhaps. But it's because, as you can see if I go along here, that I detail with illustrations and so on. So, yeah, well, this was a bit of detailed look into my designer world, and yeah, maybe I guess I have been struggling a bit more with it than if you were educated within this business. I'm starting from scratch. I'm using my math skills and tech skills and try to get the visuals. So I would say if I could have attended a designer course and learned the thing that I've learned now in the very steep learning curve, it would have been much easier. And this is why I try to share in these videos how I do it, so that if you are thinking, well, can I be a designer? Can't I be a designer? Yes, of course you can. But it is a bit challenging with the first designs until you get into the flow of things and how to do it. And but don't give up. And maybe there is courses out there, I just didn't know. But I would say that in order to do this, I think you don't have to be afraid of numbers. And it helps you if you have some kind of visual 3D image way of looking at things, I would say. So yeah, I guess that was it about the pattern. But you know, there are so many iterations of the pattern, at least for me, because things you see yourself and things you definitely don't see, because when I actually have made the pattern, I've made more prototypes, and then when the pattern is done, I do more sweaters when I try to follow my pattern. But I saw that actually I do not follow my own pattern, because I follow what's in my head and in my hands, because I've made so many. So if there is an error here, I don't see it because I know what to do. And this is why it is instrumental and key to have testers test your pattern, not just for the lingo here and the pattern being right, but definitely also to see it working on different bodies, and see if you have to make design changes. Now that I've published this design, what is next? What is up to do for me? Yeah, I still have a little job to do to get the linen edition or the plant fiber edition published on Ravelry, and do some more tutorials, and then I will do more knitting. I haven't decided yet what to do because I have a unfinished business, so to speak. I guess I have 7 or 8 designs I've made already, but I miss the pattern piece. So I know now, I've done the process 2 times, that when you have done your design and you think it's fine and you like it on yourself and maybe on some of your friends, then I think you can apply the 20-80 rule, that you've done 20% of the work and now the 80% starts with doing the grading, the math in Excel, all the sketches, the patterning, the testing by testers and yourself, and so on, all the office work. So I I have to find the pace on how many designs I can do a year, or is it every 3 months or so? I don't know. And I also think that by doing this more times, it gets easier for me, and I know the process. I could feel this already this time, even though I call this my designer exam piece. But again, that is related to the difficulty of grading with an 8-stitch pattern, and at least for me as a relatively new designer. So yeah, another thing, since the last video, I guess, or at least this summer and spring, we have got 2 more grandchildren. So now we have 2 small babies, 3 grandchildren in total. So I guess I would also be doing a lot of baby knits, and maybe I think I will start doing my designs in children's sizes and get them published, and then later on do the grading for adults. Maybe, I don't know. If you have ideas for me on how to do this and have experience, please let me know. I am all ears for all the feedback I can get. And some has also asked me about some of my designs and when they will be patterned and so on. But I will take a phase here. Maybe my husband and I will go on a holiday and relax a bit. There hasn't been so much vacation lately, I would say, neither for him or me, with all the things we have been going on. So yeah, I guess this was the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you are not a regular, so to speak, and would like to support me and help me grow the channel, then please subscribe to my channel so that I can make even more videos. Yeah, Roger and over from Ingesknittinglab. Color me happy. Bye bye.